Welcome to the Higher Self Club podcast. I'm your host, Shay, and together we'll dive deep into topics such as mindset, manifestation, money, business, and wellness so you can feel expanded and empowered to create a life of joy and freedom. I'm so excited to be on this journey with you. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Higher Self Club podcast. Wow, this has been a long time coming. I've wanted to record this for a very long time, and I said, all right, on my birthday, I'm going to do the first episode. It's going to mark the start of this journey, and that was 3 or 4 months ago now, and I still hadn't done it. So it just shows unless you really make the time to do the things that you want to do, they're probably not going to happen. So this is me ripping the Band-Aid off. I'm here and I'm so excited. So anyway, welcome. My name is Shay. I am your host. I was born in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm now living on the Gold Coast in Queensland. So I just wanted to start off this first episode by basically just giving you a background of myself and then also letting you know kind of what you can expect from listening to this podcast, what kind of topics I'll be talking about, and what kind of journey I'll be taking you on. So I'm really excited to get into podcasting. I'm on Instagram and I just find that it's kind of hard to build those deeper connections with short form content. Plus, podcasts and listening to podcasts has been such a pivotal part of my growth and my expansion over the last couple of years. And I feel like I have so much knowledge to share, but it's hard to really get a lot of value out of a couple of short reels. So through this method, I'm going to be able to share information that's genuinely going to help your life, which is what my intention is to really in each episode give you, whether that be a tool or a new perspective or some new knowledge or a new idea that you can kind of take away and that's really going to improve the quality of your life. We are fed so much information every single day. So I just want to make sure that any time that you're spending listening to me is time that makes you feel expanded and inspired and allows you to up level in every area of your life. So that's my intention with the podcast. So to start with, I'm going to give you a background on myself. So this feels quite vulnerable, but I thought I'm just going to throw it right back. We'll start from childhood and let's get into it. So when I think back to growing up, some of my earliest memories of myself, I just remember being really intrigued and obsessed with anything mystical and magical. I was obsessed with fairies, and I remember my parents decorating my room in a full fairy theme. I loved being creative, and I remember doing a lot of arts and crafts with my mum, and we used to go on a lot of family holidays to the beach and go camping and spending a lot of time in nature. And I think this really is what fostered my love for travel and for exploring and for being in nature. So that was like some really magical parts of my childhood. Another event, one of the biggest events I probably experienced growing up that's really, I believe, shaped me to be the person that I am today is my parents divorced when I was around 9 years old. And yeah, this was probably one of the most challenging experiences of my life, not just at the time when they divorced, but also all the challenges that brings growing up in two households. When I look back on it, so we used to like bounce between mum's house and dad's house, and I used to have my little brother and sister with me. And I just remember really not wanting to get upset because I didn't want to upset my younger brother and sister. I really wanted to be strong for them. So I think through this experience, I became really good at kind of hiding my emotions and really holding it together and bottling it up. And it wasn't until later on that I've really been able to heal this and kind of been self-aware that this is what I was doing. But yeah, I just remember at this time trying to be really strong for them. And although this was quite painful, this whole experience of growing up with two families, really, I definitely wouldn't change it. I'm actually so grateful for that experience because it's just allowed me to build so much strength within myself. And I truly believe that everything that happens to us is meant for us and that it's all part of my soul's evolution. So yeah, that was a big part of my childhood, but it was definitely pivotal in allowing me to be the person that I am today. And it's so funny. My brother and my sister and I were joking recently about just how wild it is that our mum and dad were even together in the first place. Like looking at them now, I can see how happy each of them are in their new relationships and with their new partners, who I love both of them so much as well. And yeah, it's just funny looking back, like growing up, you kind of, when you're younger, you find it quite painful, but growing up looking at them now, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how are you two together for so long? They were together for like 15 years. Yeah, it's just funny. But yeah, love them both so much, and I'm just so grateful that they are able to be happy now. Then thinking back to going into high school, throughout high school, I loved school. I was a massive overachiever, put a lot of pressure on myself to do really well. I loved school. I loved studying. I loved learning. I guess you could say I was a little nerd. I remember when I was around 12 years old, walking through the shops with my dad, and we walked past a bookshop, and there was maybe I was a little bit older. Maybe I was like 14. I'm not sure. Oh no, maybe I was 12. I don't know. Around that time, we walked past a bookshop, and this book stood out to me as we were walking past, and it was called The Secret for Teenagers. I remember pointing it out to my dad, and the next time that I went to his house, he had actually bought this book for me, which was so lovely. And I remember reading this book, and it introduced the law of attraction and the power of our mind. And I remember my mind just being so expanded by these concepts and these ideas, and it just instantly lit something up inside me, and I knew it was something that I needed to learn more about. And basically ever since that time, it's something that I've been studying and learning about, the power of our mind, the laws of the universe, and how we shape our reality. So that was definitely a pivotal moment in my life. Then when I was around 14 years old, I went into a relationship, and I was with this same person until I was 21. So I was in a relationship with one person my entire teenage years, basically. So then when that ended, I went through the biggest identity crisis. I remember feeling like I had no idea who I was. I felt so disconnected with myself, and I just remember thinking that my world was falling apart. So this started a massive process of self-discovery and reconnecting with myself and figuring out who I was. And this started with a couple of years of some serious partying. And looking back, it kind of makes me cringe at what I put my body through. But I did have a lot of fun, and I did begin to start reconnecting with my emotions. So that breakup, it really cracked me wide open, and, it felt super expansive and exciting to me to kind of be rediscovering myself in this way. So yeah, that first heartbreak is no joke, but it definitely cracked me wide open and just really started a new journey for me. So then not long after, really, I met my now partner, Daniel. Well, actually, we've been friends for a really long time, but we started to grow really close. And this was a massively healing time for me. I remember he held such space for my emotions, and he spoke about his emotions. And I was like, oh my gosh, a boy talking about his emotions? Like, what is going on? I remember one day him saying to me, oh, Shay, you're just so beautiful. I was like, ugh. I was like, excuse me? Never say that to me again. And he was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? So he really helped me to, I guess, build my self-confidence and allow me to reconnect with my emotions. And yeah, that was a really beautiful time, and I'm so grateful for him. So my early 20s was really big, and it was also at this time, I guess, when I left school, I was really into like art and being creative. Didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I decided to study fashion, went to university, studied fashion business, and then I landed a role straight out of university, which was so lucky. It was an absolute dream come true for me. And I fell into the design department. So I started as an assistant and then worked my way up until I was a designer. And while I was working at this brand, we also launched another brand, and this brand went absolutely viral globally and was seen on some of the biggest celebrities in the world. Kylie Jenner and Bella Hadid and Hailey Bieber. And I remember we were just a small group of girls in this office that was just making these big things happen. And it was such a fun and expansive time. I have such a soft spot in my heart for that era of my life because it was just so fun and wild. But after 3 or 4 years in working in this environment, I just started to get really itchy feet. I was driving an hour to work and an hour home, sitting in traffic. So spending like 2 hours a day driving, and then, going to the same place, sitting in the same desk, doing the same work every day. It just made me feel really antsy, I guess. And I just remember feeling really frustrated that I wasn't able to explore any of my other interests. I wasn't even able to really squeeze in time to go to the gym unless I got up at like 4:30 in the morning. And I just became really burnt out and just frustrated is the best way I can describe it. And I've since found out that for those of you who are into human design, I'm a manifesting generator. So it makes a lot of sense why I was feeling that sense of frustration, because as a manifesting generator, you get energy from exploring different interests all the time. So because I was stuck doing one thing, that's why I was feeling that sense of frustration. But anyway, I felt frustrated because I'd gone straight from university to high school to work, and I just felt like I had no substance or life experience. I felt like, when I went to dinner parties, I never had anything to bring to the conversation or anything interesting to contribute. I'm sure I did, but I just remember feeling this at the time, that I just had, I just felt like I wanted more life experience. I really craved travel, and I just wanted to start doing things that were going to allow me to get out of my comfort zone. So I was also looking to really deepen my spirituality. I was, still studying all these concepts about law of attraction and manifestation and learning about the mind. And I wanted to do something, I really needed to do something to challenge myself and expand myself and get myself out of this rut. So I took some annual leave and I booked a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat. So this is a retreat where you go away for 10 days, you don't have your phone, you don't speak, you don't make eye contact, you're not allowed to read, you're not allowed to do anything. You're basically just yourself isolated for 10 days, learning to meditate for 10 hours a day. So a side note that comes up, when I decided to go away on that retreat, I remember my grandpa calling up my mum and my dad, worried about me. He thought that I was going to rehab or something because he thought I was or some cult or something. He was like, what is Shay doing? Is she okay? I thought that was really funny. But anyway, I came home from that retreat and people always ask me, what was it like? Like, what was it like when you finished that? And the only way I can describe it is my thoughts just felt so clear. Everything felt clear. Every single thought was clear. I don't know. That's the best way I can describe it to you. It was like there was space in between each thought. And after this, I realized I was just so fed up with my repetitive routine and just, driving the same way to work every day, going to the same place. I started to kind of play with the idea of maybe I'll move overseas. Like, I feel like this is a perfect time in my life. I have no responsibilities. Maybe I'll just pack up and move and just see what happens. I was toying with the idea of London, as a lot of Aussies seem to move to London. I remember saying, all right, maybe I'll move to London. And then the next day, after me and my friend had spoken about this same friend and I went to this Turkish coffee cup reader. And I remember sitting there and he started my reading. And the first thing he said was London. He wrote out London on the paper. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, our jaws were just on the floor. We were like, what? Because I literally only spoken about this with her. So that was interesting. After I had that experience, I was like, oh, maybe London is the place. But it still felt like quite a big decision. I wasn't sure if it was the right decision. So I began to ask for a sign on what to do. I was like, send me a sign. I need some help. Then I started seeing the number 44 everywhere. And I know some people might roll their eyes like, oh, okay, come on. But it actually really started to freak me out. I work on Adobe Illustrator a lot for work, and my settings would come up and they would all be filled out with 444. Number plates, phone numbers. I'd have random numbers call me with the number 444 in it. It was wild. So I started to do a bit of research into numbers and angel numbers and all these types of things, and came to the conclusion that this was guidance, that this was the right decision for me. So I quit my job, which was really scary. I packed my bags, packed a big backpack and headed over to Europe with some girlfriends. And then I met Daniel over there, and then together we landed in London. We just had our backpacks. We had nowhere to stay. We had barely any money because we'd spent it all traveling. But yeah, we were like, all right, let's just see what we can do here. So we started looking for somewhere to live, found a place. And what do you know? The bus that runs right through the street was Route 44. So I was like, all right, I'm in the right place. So after about 7 months in London, we just started to get back on our feet. So we had a 2-year visa. So our plan was to stay there for 2 years. And from London, it's so close to get to anywhere in Europe. So we were planning to kind of travel around for the next 2 years. And then we got phone calls from our family being like, there's this thing called COVID. You need to come home. We don't know what's going to happen. And we were like, oh my gosh, this is wild. What is this thing? Surely this is all a bit dramatic. So we weren't sure if we were going to come home or not, but Daniel had some previous health conditions with his lungs, and we just weren't sure how serious this was. And at the time, it was all very like a serious messaging around your respiratory system and stuff. So we were like, all right, let's just pack our bags up. Let's go home and we'll try and come back as soon as we can. So yeah, within 24 hours, we'd packed our bags and were on one of the last flights back to Australia. So yeah, then all of a sudden we were at home. We had no cars, no careers, no money. We were living between our parents' place. And let me just say, things could have obviously been a lot worse. We were very lucky that, we didn't have our own kids that we had to look after like so many people did. And we were able to stay at our parents' place, absolutely. But I do remember we were feeling pretty rattled at this stage, being locked down, and it all just happened so quickly. So during this time, I ended up working remotely for the company that I was working for before I left for Europe, which I was so grateful for. This was such a blessing. At the same time, we were like, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck are we back here? We're back in Melbourne. We're not allowed to even leave our house. And what I've been craving for so long was this travel and exploring the world. I'd just started and all of a sudden I was back home and I couldn't leave. So I found this really mentally hard. But I just began thinking, all right, what's next? Like, what can I do? So firstly, whilst I was living in London, I had put on some weight. I'd put on 10 kilos, which was quite a lot for me because I was always very slim and I'd always just been able to eat whatever I wanted and never have fluctuations in weight. So this was really uncomfortable for me and I just wasn't feeling good. I was feeling inflamed and just like swollen. So the first challenge was getting to work and really moving my body again and treating my body properly. So I remember Daniel and I, we'd bought a bunch of like free weights and every morning we'd get up and do these online workouts and I remember them being really challenging, but every day we tried to really get up and do those really hard workouts. And I really fell in love with moving my body and getting stronger. And I remember that making me feel really, really good. And I dropped that weight off and I started to feel really good in my body again. Then at the same time, we were also studying our little butts off learning digital marketing. So this is something that we had started while we were living in London. We really wanted to learn some skills that were going to allow us to work online so we could travel and earn money from anywhere. So whilst we learnt these skills, we also started selling affiliate products. We were selling online courses. So we started to create a little bit of an income online, which was really exciting. Definitely wasn't much income compared to the amount of work we were putting in and the amount of study we were doing, but it really gave us purpose during this time. And then I think it was like literally probably 2 years of being locked down in Melbourne. We just became super fed up. We still couldn't get back overseas. So we were like, all right, we need to do something. So we decided to move up to the Gold Coast. So we moved up with some friends. We drove up the coast and we couldn't get over the border to Queensland. So we stayed in a hotel. And what do you know? The hotel room we were put in was number 444, of course. But moving up to the Gold Coast, when we finally got over the border, it was just like this big exhale, being close to the water, just being in the warm weather. Everything is a 10-minute walk away. Just my absolute dream lifestyle. So this was an absolute dream come true. It still is. I still live here and I absolutely love it here. The lifestyle is just unmatched. So grateful. So this was a great decision. But when we initially moved up to the Gold Coast, we were still doing digital marketing and we started to take on our own clients, like a couple of startups, and starting to do everything from social media creation to email marketing, building funnels, running ads. We were doing everything. We were working all the time. All the time. Our poor friends who we lived with were like, oh my gosh, like you guys need to leave your office. But looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel bad. We probably weren't much fun to live with. But after about 18 months of hustling, we both kind of decided that, this isn't really what we want to do. We weren't really in love with the work. We were both creatives, and this was a very analytical type of work, I guess. So this was really difficult because all up, we'd probably spend about 2 to 3 years really dedicating ourselves to this and being like, this is our key to freedom. This is our key to being able to travel and work and earn a really good scalable income. And yeah, we just decided, no, we have to let this go. This just isn't the path for us. So that was really hard, and we dissolved that. And I remember after this time, again, just feeling super lost. I was like, well, fashion isn't my thing. Digital marketing isn't my thing. Like, what am I going to do? I really felt like I was starting from square one. And at this time, I discovered breathwork. So I did my first breathwork journey. So I was just me laying on my bed in my room, doing an online journey. And I just remember getting to the end of this hour of breathing and having that same sense of clarity and that same sense of spaciousness in my body that I did at the end of that 10 days of meditating a couple of years prior. And after that experience, I was like, wow, okay, this is something that I need to share and I need to learn more about. So that was really interesting. And then I also started to look at, okay, what am I interested in? I'm obsessed with everything to do with manifestation, meditation, spirituality, but it had never occurred to me that I could turn these things into a business. Until one day, I remember a light bulb just switching on. I think I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw someone else who was speaking about the same things that I'm interested in and who had a business in this space. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, of course. It was just that moment. I was like, of course, this is what I'm meant to do. And I remember feeling the relief flood over me. And then I was like, okay, if I'm going to get into this space, I want to be the absolute best in this space. So I signed up for my breathwork certification, meditation certification, mindset coaching, NLP, and I just dove into learning everything that I could to show up in the most powerful way that I possibly could and to be able to hold space for transformation for people in a really powerful and safe way. So this was a period of really intense learning and transformation, because I think when you do this type of work and you want to guide people in this way, you need to first guide yourself and you need to embody this work. So I remember learning a lot about myself during this time and it just being so expansive. And it's definitely an ongoing journey that I just love so much. Even though I also didn't think I would go back into fashion, I actually began designing again for a brand up on the Gold Coast who have just been incredible to work for and who I love so much. And I have so much creative freedom and I actually just love doing that. I just realized that I'm a multi-passionate human and I love to do a number of different things. So that has been really fun. So basically right now, that brings us to today. I am in the trenches. I'm working full time and I'm building my business. And I just really want to take you along for the ride within this podcast. So what you can expect from this podcast is just me really honestly and rawly sharing my experience and my journey of building a business and of consciously creating the reality of my dreams. And I want to share the whole journey with you, take you along for the ride, so that I hope for you to be able to create the reality that absolutely lights you up as well. So through sharing my journey, I think for me, what I find most valuable in other people's journeys is seeing the steps that they took to get to where they want to go, rather than just seeing someone at the end goal. I feel like you see a lot of people online who are living this dream life and doing the things they want to do, but there's not much transparency around what it took to get there. So that's what I really want to do with this podcast, is take you through every step of the journey. And I guess the overarching theme really of a lot of the things that I'm going to talk to you about, it all comes down to freedom. I am so passionate about freedom. It is one of my number one values. And to me, freedom means a number of things. So one element of freedom to me is financial freedom. So financial abundance is something that I'm working towards and is something that I believe to be really important for a number of reasons. Firstly, we are a soul in a human body having this human experience in this 3D reality. So why not enjoy all the luxuries and experiences that life has to offer? And to enjoy these things, you do need to have money. So money is this energy and it empowers us to do a lot of the things that we want to do. Of course, money isn't the answer to happiness, but it does allow us and empower us to do so many things. And one of those things for me is it allows you to best look after your health. So this is something that I'm really focused on at the moment is, being able to buy the best organic foods, going to the best health practitioners, these things, they don't come cheap. It does require a financial investment. So to me, being financially abundant allows me to do those things and to look after myself in the best way. It also allows me to treat my family and friends, or support and look after my family and friends. And this is definitely a journey I'm on, and something that I will talk about in the podcast is, wealth creation and how to do that and what it means. And, this is all the things we're obviously not taught in school. There's obviously a reason for that, which I won't get into. But yeah, I just think that I believe that money makes you more of the person that you are, and that there is more than enough to go around. So why not learn how to utilize that and create that for yourself, so that you just have more options in life and you're able to create the life that you dream of. So secondly, freedom to me is time. So when it comes down to it, time is all we really have. And it's really important for me to really start to build a life where I have freedom over my schedule, where I have control over my time, where I have spaciousness in my day to explore the different interests and things that I want to explore and things that I want to do. We're truly not here for long. Time is a non-renewable resource. I love this quote by Raman Sharma, and it says, "Don't live the same year 75 times over and call it a life." So this really connected to me because I do want to live a life that is full of different experiences and exploring the world and doing different things. Some people, for them, living a life of routine and groundedness is absolutely perfect for them. So I think as long as you're living a life that is true to what lights you up and what feels good in your body, then that is perfect. For me, I want to see and experience all of the things. So that is why having control over my time is so important for me. My worst fear is getting to the end of my life and having regret over the things that I didn't do or that I didn't try. I truly believe we must have respect for our time. So through this podcast, I'll also be exploring different ways we can utilize our time and create more spaciousness in our life, whether this be different ways to control your time or to get better at time management, or different business models that allow you to open up space in your life. So I'm excited to explore that with you. Thirdly, I love the idea of freedom in the sense of not being tied down to one place. So being able to make money from anywhere, being able to move around. And as I get a little bit older, I think this isn't as important to me. I do enjoy that sense of groundedness and being in one place and having my place, but it's definitely something I still would like to achieve, to know that I can just go anywhere and just not be tied down to one place. I think that's definitely still a big goal of mine. And lastly, and most importantly, what freedom means to me is it means peace. It means feeling good within your body, good within your mind. It does not matter if you make $1 billion. It doesn't matter if you're traveling all the time, if you're making all the money, if you have control over your location. If you feel depressed, if you feel anxious, if you feel lonely, then you're not free. Freedom of your mind and freedom of your emotions, that is true freedom. I love this quote from Viktor E. Frankl. He was a prisoner of Auschwitz, and he said, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given state of circumstances, to choose one's own way." So I love this because for me, it makes me realize that wherever you're at right now, even though you might not be where you want to be just yet, in any given moment, you can choose your attitude. You can choose the way that you want to feel. You can choose the thoughts that you're feeding yourself. You can truly shift the way that you feel regardless of your circumstances. And this has probably been the most powerful lesson in my 28 years of life. And I feel so grateful to have realized this now, because I feel like some people, it takes them reaching these massive goals to get there and be like, oh my gosh, like I could have felt the way I wanted to feel this entire time. Tying our happiness to a future goal is just so dangerous, as that is how time passes us by. So I think to counteract this, one of the most powerful things we can do is just have gratitude for everything that we have right now in this moment. I'll definitely be sharing more of my journey towards cultivating this type of mindset and cultivating this love for the journey, and sharing with you how I work on my mindset and manifesting my life and my emotional management and creating a life that just I feel so fucking good about every day, no matter how much money or success that I have. So I have been on this journey for quite a long time time now, and I'm just bursting with everything that I want to share with you. But basically, I really want to collapse the time it takes for you to get to where you want to go. I've made a lot of mistakes along the way, and I've definitely taken a much longer time to do some of the things that I wish I had done faster, and I could have done faster if I had just maybe got out of my own way. So my real dream is to help you get out of your own way so you can collapse time, so you can get to where you want to go faster, so you can make the most out of your life. So this podcast, I guess you could say, it's the podcast that I wish I had 5 years ago. It's everything that I needed to hear back then. And as I said, I feel like online you see a lot of people doing really well with all these successful businesses and traveling and doing all the things, but you don't really see the struggle that they went through to get there. So I'm going to continue to share everything that I go through. This podcast in itself has been quite vulnerable for me. But if that's going to connect to someone and help someone else to get to where they want to go, then I'm so fine with sharing every part of my story. So I will be doing probably mostly solo episodes, but I'm sure I will connect with other people here and there as we talk about topics such as mindset, manifestation, money, business, emotional management, and all these things. I guess everything to do with really self-development. I'm also going to get my partner Daniel on, as he is also building his own business. We both have very different perspectives and struggles that we go through, so I think it will be really valuable for you to hear his point of view on things as well. But yeah, that was just a bit of an intro to me, a little bit about what's to come, and I'm just so excited for us to build an epic life together, to do what inspires us, and to be so damn proud of the way that we're living. Yay! So if you are keen to follow my journey and learn from me, please subscribe, leave a review if it feels aligned. Let me know if you enjoyed the episode. If there's anything specific that you want to hear, please send me a DM on Instagram. And I would love to create an episode based on what you would find most useful to know. So I'm so grateful for your support. I'm so grateful for you listening to my story, and I'm just so excited for what's to come. So I will speak to you on the next episode. Bye for now. Before you go, would you like a free mini course teaching you how to manifest new opportunities into your life? Learn how to become magnetic to aligned opportunities with my 5-step manifestation process. You can sign up to this course through the link in the show notes. The course is short. There's around 7 short videos. It's really easy to consume, and I'm sure that you'll begin to become magnetic to all sorts of new things in your life if you follow these steps. So I hope you enjoy.